opening up the keyhole and just looking outside. I'm like, no.
So then you get into the whole industry of like adult film. Was it what you expected doing your first scene? So you had me doing moonsaults off the top rope.
Oh my God.
I have implants.
I feel like I know him from somewhere. Why?
Why not?
I mean, I thought about it for a long while before I did it. I mean, I got a lot of uproar from the whole industry, but who are they to judge me?
Yeah, I mean, what are they?
They can all go to hell. They don't pay my bills.
No, you got a point.
And that's that.
Happy Monday, everyone. Hi, John Jay. How are you today? How's everyone's Monday going so far? I know that a lot of people are reading about the current disasters in California. And yeah, what a shit show. I mean, it is no doubt in my mind that this is a plan to rebuild California 2.0 into a smart city. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Yeah, I'm so glad I'm away from that shit show completely, because that is just wherever everything is now. They say that it's only 11% contained in the Palisades. It's more than 11%. And if these fires are only at 11% contained, then what does that say about your fire department? Hey, Scott, how are you? I think that I'm more appalled and possibly devastated that a good friend of mine thinks that the mayor of LA is attractive and charismatic and charming and all of these other wonderful things. I'm like, dude, do you need glasses or something? Wow. Anyway, I don't know if a lot of you have been keeping up on the Crazy Train podcast. Those of you who were watching the earlier episodes and listening to them, I have a repeat offender. I don't know if I should say that. That's probably a really bad joke. A repeat guest, Seth Ferranti. He is the one, he's known as an outlaw writer and an outlaw filmmaker. He most recently did the Netflix series White Boy Rick, the documentary. Hey, Ben, ¿cómo estás? He also did the Dope Man, America's First Drug Cartel show. He's written quite a bunch of stuff, but most recently, he's a teenage felon. I mean, he was on the run for quite some time from the cops. He's America's 15 most wanted at one point, one of the youngest felons ever for like a victimless crime too. It was weed or LSD. I mean, I'll have him tell you about it. But Seth is an interesting person, okay, because he just got busted again for, hey, how are you, Roos and Superfuge? That's a very funny name. Sorry. But he just most recently got arrested again for, I don't know if it was 40 pounds or 400 pounds of marijuana. And this is someone who actually staged his own death to escape getting arrested. So I don't know if anyone has questions or any type of advice they need on how to be a fugitive. Not that I promote, criminal activities in any way, shape, or form on here. But, it's more of a human interest thing. I'd be curious to know, because Seth has actually been called in on Fox News before when they had other cases around the country of people on the run from the police. I don't know if anyone remembers, a few years ago, there was a very attractive cop who was on the run with, I think she was by herself, but they eventually found her. And if you were in trouble like this before with police and with the law, why would you want to come back, cause another crime, you're out on bail, why aren't you running? Or is that like the wrong mentality to look at this? I don't know. So White Boy Rick documentary is on Netflix. Dope Man, America's Very First Drug Cartel, was out on Amazon and a few other those streaming platforms. But yeah, I don't know if Seth is currently being sought after by the feds, full disclosure. So I don't know, because I certainly am no party to anything. I'm just having him as a guest on my show. I do want to know what happened this last time. And, there's also the whole concern. If someone is getting arrested for all these pounds of marijuana, let's say 400, 500 pounds of marijuana, okay, maybe there's a potential to distribute it. but isn't it a harmless drug? Like most people consider it to be not even a drug, but just a harmless plant. Sorry, I'm having a problem. It's just all the air quality has been really bad. I'm okay though. Hey Paul. Okay, so yeah, Painkiller is another great show on Netflix. Okay, so Painkiller was a really good show. It's about codeine. And my favorite characters on the show were the codeine kittens. They were the sales girls that were like really hot, selling codeine or going to the doctor's office and having them buy high dosages of codeine, hydrocodone, or what is it, Oxycontin. I'm bad with pills. And, show the whole epidemic as it unfolded and how the big guys never, ever got in trouble. Another thing I have been binge watching on Netflix, which is really good, is Harlan Coben. He had a really good show. He did Fool Me Once. He did Safe. And the other good Netflix recommendation, Paul, is Missing You. It's really, really good. And Harlan Coben is one of the most talented writers to date. A lot of his stuff is coming out on Netflix. I learned about him during the pandemic, his shows on Netflix. And I think Michael C. Hall was in the first Harlan Coben thing I ever saw, which is called Safe, the Harlan Coben show. Hey, Tom, how are you? So Tom is also another writer. He's a friend of mine on Facebook as well. And I've met him before. So yeah. So again, full disclosure, I have no idea whether Seth Ferranti is still a fugitive. He's just a guest on my show. I don't know what these people do in their personal lives or their legal lives, but I do know, it's a lot of respect with someone like that. A lot of people who do get locked up, you never hear them, building an empire out of writing books, writing shows. And the White Boy Rick documentary, I believe, was one of the best rated ones on Netflix. I feel as though a lot more people are leaning towards types of shows like that on Netflix that are human interest, as I call them. That's how I prefer to call them. Who else is here in California? Anyone out there in California right now? I mean, it is ridiculous. I just told Karen Bass, the mayor, to suck my ass on Twitter, so I don't know if I'll be shadow banned pretty soon. She's sitting up there. She looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reject, making every single excuse under the sun. There's 20 to 30 years of undergrowth. That is a fact. Where did the infrastructure money go to? That is a question. People feel that Rick Caruso is the one that should have helped put out the fires in the Palisade. Number one, he's not the DEI mayor that you guys elected, okay? So it is not up to Rick Caruso. Rick Caruso is a private citizen. So if he has his own private firefighting team and he has his stuff set up where there are water in his fire hydrants, that is not his duty to take care of the rest of the Palisades. Those hydrants had no fire in them. Not only did Karen Bass, or whatever her name is, defund the fire department, they defunded the hydrants as well. But they did get funding for DEI. She did provide the fire department chief, Karen, whatever her name is, Cromley or Kremley, at least she hired DEI. At least there is a bunch of DEI in the fire department. I'm very happy about that. We have the assistant fire chief, who is an African American woman, I don't know what it is, potentially transitioning, possibly, who is there in an interview saying, well, if there's a man who needs to be rescued, he could go do it himself. I don't need to do it. Well, that's wonderful, because people trust their lives in your hands, whether they're male, female, he, she, whatever, how many other pronouns there are. It's good to know that you people take our safety seriously. Okay, enough about the LA fires. Yes, and there was a really good friend of mine who said that Karen Bass is very attractive, intelligent, and charismatic, which is pretty funny. Okay, so without further ado, my guest for the evening, and I know a lot of you heard him on the podcast before, and a lot of you have watched the White Boy Rick documentary and have read his books And I don't know if anyone's been keeping up with him on the news, but let's welcome to the show, Seth Ferranti. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Jasmine, what's up? Thanks for having me on.
Great hat. I like it.
Yeah, I'm supporting all the people out there.
Man, it's rough. I'm telling you. And they're not even reporting proper statistics in the
Yeah,
news. It's
looks
really
crazy, man. Looks crazy. I couldn't even imagine. It just, when you see stuff like that, it's just like so surreal, especially when you're not there. You're just like, how does it happen? Crazy.
You should be mayor.
Yeah, I could be mayor. I want cannabis bars on every corner.
I'm all for it, but just make sure they're not setting the things on fire because it's turning out to be
Yeah,
arsonists as well, which is really sad.
yeah, no, crazy, definitely. It's very, very sad out there right now.
So I've got to ask you something because a lot of people, someone did ask me this before, and let me know if it's going like too deep, but I'm just really curious. And if you don't want to talk about it, what the fuck just happened?
I got pulled over on I-80 and I got new charges. So I'm facing 0 to 20, but the important thing is that first number is 0. They just voted medical marijuana in Nebraska like on November 4th. So and I mean in reality it's an illegal stop. So if I can prove that, we're going to prove that, and then it's a legal search and seizure. So I mean, it was just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's marijuana. I tell people to put this in perspective because people can say, oh, you got caught with this or you got caught with that, couple 100 pounds, this, that. There's one marijuana company, cannabis company in LA called Glass House. They're the biggest in the state. They grew 1.2 million pounds of marijuana last year. That's one in California. I mean, there's grows all over. So I don't know. They try to act like it's still the 80s in some of these small rural counties. They're still going hard on like the war on drugs, and it's like it's a different world. You know, I mean, my personal opinion, I think marijuana should be decriminalized. It should be unlicensed. It should be unregulated. Because check this out. Why in California? You could get caught with 1,000 pounds in California, and it's a misdemeanor.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, in California. It's totally decriminalized. If you get caught with it, it's just like unregulated, unlicensed. Like if you got some cigarettes that don't got a stamp on it or something. So how can it be? It's just crazy. Like there, 1,000 pounds is a misdemeanor, and in Nebraska, they get you with an ounce, and they're going to try to take your car. I mean, it's just insane. So maybe the whole country needs to come into the majority. You can't have these holdouts from the war on drugs that want to keep practicing the civil asset forfeiture tactic from the 80s and the 90s at the height of the war on drug, and they're still trying to operate like that. It's only a couple places. One being Seward County, where I got pulled over in Nebraska, and there's some in Kansas too. But I mean, they just need to come in line with the rest of the world. And if I can be the example to show that and make that happen and show how ridiculous it is, you know what I'm saying? I can be that person. I've been fighting this battle my whole life. I'm not going to stop now. I've been a cannabis dude since I was like 13. So we're talking like 1984, and I'm 54 now. So.
Well, how old were you when you were busted originally? I know that you were on the top 50.
I was 20.
On to 20.
Yeah.
And you spent quite a bit of time in jail for that as well.
21 years in the
Now,
feds.
Here's what really fascinates me. You staged your own death to avoid arrest.
Yeah, but I did. I thought I was so smart when I was a kid. Like when you're a kid, like when you're 20, you just think like, I mean, you get older, what's up. I mean, you're wiser, you never believe that shit when you're young. But I thought I had a foolproof plan. I'd read a bunch of articles. I'd always seen articles like in the Metro section of the Washington Post that people were always committing suicide at Great Falls on the Potomac River. They would jump in the Potomac River because it's like in certain areas in Great Falls, it's like class 5 rapids. and it's, lots of rocks. So it's pretty much, if you jump in, you can't swim, you're going to drown or be banged against a rock. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to drown. It seems like a terrible way to die, but, pretty foolproof way. Just jump in. And so, yeah, I staged it. I set it up, and I thought, I'm going to be dead 7 years. I can be declared legally dead, and then the case is gone. I can be whoever I want to be. That was my idea. Yeah, but in my youth or naiveness or whatever you want to call it, I staged a suicide on the wrong side of the dam. So the U.S. Park Police dragged the river for 2 weeks and no body showed up. So they were like, we always find bodies here. So the prosecutors called it a hoax. And then they made me top 15 U.S. Marshals list for some reason.
That's the other question I had. Yeah, no body, no crime. If they don't find a body, they're probably going to think you're still alive somewhere. What really bothers me, and I remember you commented on a case a few years ago, it was a really pretty woman that was on the run from the police. Why is it that as soon as something's going down and you're on the run, why don't these people change their appearances right away? Did you think about doing that at any point, like just changing your appearance, shaving the hair?
Oh no, I always did. I was doing it constantly. I would grow a little beard, grow goatee, just grow goatee down here, grow a mustache, cut my hair different ways. But I was also doing it because I was establishing different IDs. I did this thing you could do back then. They call it paper tripping, where you get a birth certificate of someone that died before they were 5, and they died in one state and they were born in another, so they don't cross-reference the birth and death certificate, because it's interstate. So yeah, I was doing that. That's how I was getting fake IDs. So I was always changing my appearance. I think when I got caught in 1993 by the U.S. Marshals, I think I have probably almost 15 different IDs. I was working on some passports too. I hadn't got them yet. I was getting some passports. That was my plan, get passports, and I was going to bounce. Go to Europe.
See, it really bothers me because I watched Escape at Danmora that was based upon a true story. Did you see that?
No, I was actually I was on set for that. I was like a extra. Yeah, I was an extra, and I worked as the one dude. He was the girl's wife, the main character's wife, like the plumber or something. I was his body double. Like when I forget what they call it second team. So I was second team on that, and I can't remember that actor's name, but we had the same body style. So I was like his body double, like when they would set up the shot, But he would come on, do his lines real quick for Ben Stiller, then I would come in while they set up all the shots and did everything, and I would just have to stand there, repeat the lines and stuff like that. So I was actually on that. That was cool. We filmed right in the prison, in the real prison. They filmed for a whole day. I think maybe 2 days. Crazy. We had the whole yard.
I wonder why a lot of people, I don't understand in the real story, why didn't she change her appearance? Why didn't they run quicker? What is it that you think with Fugitives? What is it with them that they don't think that fast, to change the appearance right away? Or let's just get out of here quicker.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they don't have a plan before they're a fugitive. I was in prison for 21 years. I never tried to escape, but it was, if you would try to escape and you want to be successful, you got to have, a foolproof plan. You got to have a place to go, a safe house, apartment. You got to have transportation. So I would never even attempt it if it wouldn't be successful. But a lot of people, I think they just find themselves in situations, or they got a one-track mind, and all they're thinking about is, getting out or getting on the run. They're not thinking about once they get out or they get on the run, what they're going to do.
I think you should be consulting on a lot of these TV shows that write about that aren't necessarily true stories, but just ones that are,
I did a lot. I did News Nation.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked for they called me on for the Brian Laundrie thing, and then remember the prison guard that broke the guy out. I was on that. And then the guy in Pennsylvania, I did a bunch of them, man. I probably did a dozen shows like that as an expert fugitive analysis.
Well, you did the one on Fox a few years ago. That's still
Yeah.
You remember with the girl that was missing, and what you said
Yeah.
was true. She's very pretty, so she's probably going to call some guy somewhere for money. And lo and behold, that's what she did. The typical thing. So, most pretty girls would do if they're wondering, hey, can you please help me with a few bucks? Yeah. And that's all it takes. So where's your case right now with the current charge?
Oh, so it's in, I think we just got discovery, so we got to go through the body cameras because there's a lot of discrepancies in the record that when we get the body cams and we look through it, that we can disprove. It's just like a lot of not factual information. You know what I'm saying? Not even saying it's a legal stop, but I got pre-trial February 6th. And then they said trial March 25th, but we'll see. We're still gonna we got some moves to make. I can't get into every move we're gonna make, but we got a strategy and we're attacking this and we're fighting and we're going to trial.
Well, yeah, you have to. I feel as though so many of these cops are so eager to stop people, and they really play with the gray area on arrests sometimes, and it's not always on the
And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to put a spotlight on it. We're actually going to film. I'm going to bring a film crew up with me when I go there. We're going to do some filming, for a documentary, and that's what because I want to, these counties that are still doing this, like, why are you still doing this, man? It's like 2025. Why are you acting like it's like 1985? Like, move forward, progress, like the rest of the country. I mean, I think the whole country can say, I mean, cannabis isn't criminal now. So I'm saying, why are some people still trying to make it criminal? It's just, you know, like holding on to old ideas and old beliefs that didn't work. This country, I thought we moved on from the war on drugs. Why are these little municipalities, with their little fiefdoms that were built on civil asset forfeiture? Why are they still allowed to practice like this? Why aren't the federal government or the state government in Nebraska, the senators, why are they allowing this? That's what I say.
It's Nebraska of all places. My God, I couldn't imagine that. I feel as though in some places, if you smoke too much of the cannabis, there's some people that abuse it, then they go driving and then possibly hit someone. I mean, do you think there should be limits to how much someone could smoke? And if they are pulled over and let's say they're too high and that's why they created an accident, then it should be treated as a crime?
I think, to me, like THC is on the same level as like sugar, nicotine, caffeine. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think, anybody, you do things the first time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can be real stoned, or you can be this, or you can be that. But still, I mean, it's the same thing. If you just smoke like 20 cigarettes and you're all like nicotined out, I mean, should you go drive?
I
You know what
don't
I'm
know.
saying? So I mean, that's a personal decision, but and nobody's gonna get, if they get in an accident and they smoke 20 packs of cigarette, it's not gonna be criminal. It's not gonna be criminal. If somebody just drank like you know 10 Starbucks drinks, espressos or something, and they're all wired up. I mean, I'm just saying that, to me, that's on the same level. Then you go up and you got, like, alcohol is way more dangerous. That's my personal opinion. So, I don't know if everybody, you know,
No, it's a good point. I never thought of it that way. And I drink a shit ton of espresso every morning on an empty stomach. Then I start my day, but I haven't hit anyone yet to date. It does make me a little bit more fidgety than usual. Tell us about the White Boy Rick documentary and why you chose to do that one specifically, because there are like a million different interesting subjects out there, aside from yourself, by the way.
well, I mean, I had a personal connection with Rick. I was in a couple different federal prisons, medium security prisons in West Virginia, SCI Beckley and SCI Gilmer, in the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of guys from Detroit. And I was already writing for like Don Diva and getting some of my books together. And I was doing stuff for Vice. And I was always already writing a lot of that gangster stuff. And I heard about this dude, White Boy Rick. And I was just like, I wanted to write about him. I was like, who is this dude, this 16-year-old white kid that was like allegedly like running the cocaine trade in the inner city with all these black gangsters under him. I'm like, who is this dude? It was like a crazy story. And I originally reached out to him, through third party because we were both in prison. Because I wanted to, incorporate his story in one of my Street Legends books. They cover all the other, hip hop gangster, kind of thug life guys that are lionized in the lyrical lore of hip hop. And he wrote me back, and he had this like totally different story. That like he was an informant. He was a victim. The cops were keeping him in. He got framed. He got shot, and basically, he was just basically pimped out as a kid and then thrown in the trash. And it took me a couple of years, because I was kind of like doing the Billy the Kid, bang bang, shoot 'em up, gangster story, romanticizing it, like Scarface type shit. So that's what my books were. That's what I was writing. And so it took me a couple of years to kind of mature and kind of see the other side of it, like the victims of the war on drugs and, the corrupt police and the DEA and really just the whole system, like the sentencing guidelines, mandatory minimums, it was also corrupt, and targeted and racist, because that's what it was made. It was made to target the African Americans in the inner city because of the crack epidemic, but then they started putting it everywhere. But yeah, man, I wrote about Rick. I wrote about his story. I got out. I met Sean Reck from Transition Studios. We made the film, and it went on Netflix and blew up. I mean, crazy. I learned a lot. Sean Reck took me under his wing. He was the director. It's his film. I was just a writer and producer. I brought the idea to him. But yeah, I did that too. I'd only been out a couple years. So that was kind of like the jump off of all this other documentary stuff I've been doing.
Yeah, you're one of the bigger success stories I've heard of. Coming out of jail. Not that I know too many of them, but I just know my handful of guys that have been in and out. But anyway, yeah. And the war on drugs, Dope Man. Tell us about that as well. I know that was a collaboration with Christian Cipollini.
Yeah. So really, I mean, that was Christian. That was Christian wrote that. That was his idea. That came from him. He came in. We were already friends. We were doing the Lucky Luciano comic together. I know Christian since I was in. He did the graphics for a lot of my books while I was in prison. So I got like a really long relationship with him. I was probably emailing him and stuff like that, working with him for I don't know, almost 10 years before I even got out. But he brought that to me, and I was like, yeah, man, this is a badass story. His perspective of the whole thing. And yeah, we put it together. We made it. Dope Man, America's First Drug Cartel. It's on Amazon and Tubi right now. It's the first part in the series. Hopefully we can start working on the second one soon. But very powerful story that goes all the way back to these famous mafioso like Lucky Luciano, Jack Legs Diamond, and looks at how they kind of formed the first drug cartel before prohibition even ended. And people always think drug cartel is like this recent word, like the Colombians, the Mexicans, but no, it was the Italians in this country and the Irish and the Jewish gangsters and mobsters that put that together. It was before, like when, like whatever it was, like 30 or 32, where Lucky Luciano said, the mafia could only be, had to be Italian blood on the father's side. Before that, throughout the 20s, Prohibition, it was a mix of gangsters. They all worked together. So that kind of shows this. But at the same time, Dope Man shows this 100-year war because, a lot of people think this drug war is something recent. The drug war started was before Prohibition, too. It was like this failed Prohibition agent, Harry Anslinger, and he was, appointed to head the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, which was the predecessor to the DEA. And he started chasing people. They had a movie about him where he was chasing Billie Holiday, because he was super racist. He was chasing Lucky Luciano, and he was always trying to pin like heroin charges on people. So, really corrupt individual. But it just kind of shows that kind of 100-year, there's been a 100-year war. I think a lot of time, like, why was cannabis like illegal all that time, and like, tobacco or nicotine wasn't? It's just you think of these substances, like, why are these substances okay? But these substances, it's just, it gets into like, to me, it gets into like, political, financial, all types of different reasons. People are pushing different agendas, you know. So like I say, you never know. But Domi kind of looks at that era, looks what happened, and yeah, we've got really good response from it so
Yeah,
far.
I liked it a lot. I actually got very excited when I saw the trailer for it and watched it. And, you and Christian together, it's gold for sure. Considering Rick's age when the FBI, this is from Tom, by the way, considering Rick's age when the FBI took advantage of him, should all of that information gathered been considered inadmissible?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, what they did was illegal. They had an underage informant, but this is what they did. So Rick's dad, they lived on the east side. They lived down in the hood, because his grandparents, refused to move out. So, as kind of like white flight or whatever you want to call it happened, Rick and his family stayed there. They had a house, and across the street was his grandparents' house. But his dad, they used to go to gun shows all the time. They show this in the White Boy Rick movie with Matthew McConaughey too. Matthew McConaughey plays Rick's dad. But they used to go to the gun shows and they would get the guns, and buy them, and they would bring them back and they would sell them in the hood, for profit. That was like what Rick's dad did. But at the same time, he was an informant. He would go to the cops and they would pay him, and he would say who he sold the gun to. So he had an informant number. So, when Rick first came on the scene, his dad would take him everywhere with him. And Rick was like 14, 15, and this is like, mid 80s, crack era is kicking off, bodies are dropping, the cops want to know what's going on. So they're asking their informants, and one of which was Rick's dad. And Rick would go to these meetings, where they'd be at like a restaurant or whatever. And Rick would start answering because he knew, he was out in the street. He was out in the hood. He was playing ball with all the other 14, 15-year-olds, hanging out like kids do at school and stuff. So he knew what was going on. So he started giving that information through his dad, and they would use his dad's informant number. So that's how they got away with it. But then when they brought the main people bring to trial, the Curry organization, Johnny Curry, it came out because they were like the only person that could know this stuff is Rick. And he was underage. So when they started talking about underage informants, that blew the prosecutor's case, and they had to give those guys, the Curry brothers, got like real sweet plea deals, like maybe 15 years in the feds when they were looking at like life. So yeah, so it did come out, but they still would not admit it. And a bunch of FBI agents, like the FBI agents we interviewed in the film, they couldn't even say nothing about it. They felt bad about it until they retired and got out. Like 25, took 25 years, for them to get out and retire, where they could admit that they used an underage informant because, officially nobody would admit that.
Yeah, that's just flat out disgusting. I mean, asking a child to do adult work. And it's also very dangerous as well,
Yeah, and Rick got shot. Rick got shot one time because they were thinking he was informant, but he got shot. And then the task force he got shot. They sent him right back in. Like, this kid just got shot, and you're sending him right back in, because they thought it would prove he's not a snitch if he goes back to him after he got shot. So these cops, law enforcement, fought that up for him and then made him do it.
Yeah, but there's so many TV shows out there, especially the European ones that I watch on Netflix, and it shows how corrupt things are on the inside. And even if you have an informant that gets hurt, I don't know the latest show I was watching on Netflix, but the informant basically went out, he got hurt. But it was an overstretching female DA. And, I'm not trying to be sexist, anyone, or misogynistic. Actually, no, I am. No, I'm being honest. It was a typical woman in power, right? Overstretching DA. And she kept pushing and pushing for a case. It was the one that took place in Spain. It'll come to me later. And the guy's family got killed. The guy's leg got blown off, and they kept pushing him out there as a freaking informant.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't care. They only care about their careers.
Yeah, they really do.
All they care about is their careers.
Hellstrom here. William Hearst played a big part in making hemp illegal. What's that all about?
There's this book called The Emperor's No Clothes. It's like a famous book, and I think it tells that whole story basically a lot of the because hemp was a big industry and cannabis was used as medicine. Because it was therapeutical, medicinal, and spiritual. And there might have been like 60 things that the local healer would go smoke some weed for these 60 symptoms. But then when the pharmaceutical companies came in at the same time, hemp was made illegal, and they made 60 pills out of petroleum that you could take. And they vilified marijuana. They vilified it because there was a big hemp industry too. So if you look at the history, like a lot of the pharmaceutical companies and the plastic companies, they came online like right around the same time when cannabis and hemp were being made illegal and getting vilified. So it just kind of shows you. And then if you look at a lot of the people that formed all those pharmaceutical and plastic companies, they were like the former industrialists, that the people had run all the factories like in the 19th century. And then, they pretty much got shut down because of child labor and people getting their arms chopped off. And that put in a lot of the labor laws in the early 1900s. And then they just transitioned. They made, cannabis the bad guy and moved in with these two industries to get the money. And now look, we got the fentanyl crisis. 100 years later, we got the fentanyl crisis, and our oceans are full of plastic. All that agreed, but whatever. American way, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm living it right now. So trust me, we're seeing it in its finest. We have 30 to 40 years of undergrowth here. Where did the money for the infrastructure go? Hi, Giuseppe. So Paul wants to know how you met Christian. So were you guys writing to each other? What was that story again?
Yeah, I think Christian reached out to me like through my website, like my writing. He was an aspiring writer. I don't think he had done anything yet. He was doing a lot of graphic design, and yeah, he started writing stuff. So I encouraged him. I told him he could do it. Write his first book. He told me his idea. He started doing graphic design stuff for me when I was still in prison. Uh, he would do like a whole bunch of different stuff. Some of my book covers. He helped me a lot, and then I got out and we just kind of formed a friendship like that. And, he kept writing. We did the Lucky Luciano graphic novel, which is on guerrillaconvict.com. You can order it on there if you're interested. And we did that graphic novel, and then we collaborated on the Dope Man film. And we're going to do more stuff.
Wait a second. I didn't know that Christian Cipollini knows how to do graphics. Now I'm like really pissed off at him. So I'll have a bone to pick with him at some point tomorrow when I start blowing up his phone about that.
Yeah. He did a ton of stuff for me when I was in.
Yeah. Christian, you hear that? Okay. So Hearst was invested in wood pulp for his newspapers and didn't want paper being made with hemp. Okay, that makes sense. It was William Hearst, I guess the Hearst Publishing Company. I went to school with Carlos Hearst years ago in New York. I think he got popped for dealing acid at some point when we were like 14 or 15 years old. What's your relationship with LSD?
Well, I mean, I like to take it.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I don't do it all the time, sometimes. I mean, I was at the shows in Vegas, Dead and Company at the Spear. So, I dropped a couple times. I think I dropped, I don't know, I probably dropped like 10 one time. 10 hits.
Yeah, that
It was
seems
really, that was a very intense. It was a very intense show, let me tell you. On 10 hits of acid in the Spear, with that stuff floating all over the wall. Have you been in the Spear in Vegas?
What is it? Oh, the Sphere? No, I've not been in there.
Yeah.
What is it? What's inside of it? I've heard of it.
Oh man, it's like just imagine, like how when bands play and they put a projection behind them
Mm-hmm.
of whatever. This is like a projection all around you, all the inside of the dome. The whole inside of the dome is a projection. Man, when you're tripping on acid, it is phenomenal. I'm telling you, it is like stuff is going this way. It feels like you're standing there, you feel like you're going up or you're going down. I'm telling you, phenomenal. I mean, go see Dead and Company, but any kind of I'd say any show in there, electric EDM or whatever is going to be phenomenal. Just because I mean, they did it with the projection, but this is just like it's everywhere. You know, it's because it's inside, like the world or whatever. So wherever you look, it's like the projection behind them. I swear it looks sometimes the way it goes, it makes it seem like the band is going up and down on the stage. I don't know, maybe that was the LSD.
Hey, when I was
Could have
6,
been.
I thought graffiti was moving on the phone booth, and I had to call my mom to tell her I was late, like coming home later than usual. Man, oh man! I saw the grass separating from the dirt in Central Park in Sheep's Meadow. So after that, then we went to see the Laser show. It was Laser Rush, Laser Floyd. It was like a triple header that night. So I had quite a crazy night for my very first trip at 16 years old. Whether or not I want to do that again, I really don't think that's I'm probably not a good candidate for it at this time. But yeah, so a question. So people wanted to know about your website and what's on there. So tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so my website is gorillaconvict.com, GORILLACONVICT.com. That's from the publishing company that I started when I was in prison in 2005. And yeah, I got like a bunch of articles that I wrote. I used to do blog stuff when I was on prison. It's all like mafia, like gangster, gang, drug lord, type of stuff. Ton of articles on there that have been up forever. But then you can order my books on there too. Um, I got a bunch of books in there. My newest one is called Thug Life. It's hardback. It's where organized crime and hip hop meet. So it's a bunch of different stories. And then like my most popular books are like Prison Stories, and then Supreme Team. So you can order all those and I'll autograph them and stuff. And then I got like the comics, like the graphic novel that Christian and I did, Lucky, and got some other comics. And I don't know, probably 12, 13, 14 books on there, that you can order on my website. But all my stuff's on Amazon too. A lot of my stuff is Audible now too, if people like to listen to books. And then all my films, like my films are on Amazon, like TVOD, you can go to rent it, buy it, and Tubi right now. And then White Boy is still on Netflix.
Yeah, I just saw it when I was scrolling through Netflix again last night, trying to find that one other thing that's really good. I ended up watching some kind of series from Poland, which is a great crime story, and the main character tripped on acid at one point and ended up in a loony bin. But that's not what happened here to you. So not all.
I'm not in the loony bin yet, Jasmine.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Tom wants to know if you could speak a little bit about Rafel Edmund. Rafel Edmund, is that his name? Rafel or Raymond?
Yeah. So Rafel Edmund, he just passed recently. He was a big Washington D.C. cocaine dealer, like from the 80s. He just had this like mystique, like it was like magical. Like he was like known as a gentleman gangster. He used to drive around in Rolls Royces, wear like white suits. You go to like the Georgetown Hoya games. He did a lot of time, man. He went in probably like the end of the 80s, probably like 87 or 88, and he just got out recently. Like I don't even think 6 months ago. He had life, but they've been letting a lot of those dudes that got life out now in the feds. And he got out, but he just died, man. I think he just died before Christmas. So I don't even think he was out like 4 or 5 months. Just, yeah, tragic, really. He did all that time. He got out 4 months and he died. But I mean, this dude was like basically the king of DC. I got a book about him, Rafel Evans. He was the king of DC, at that time. One of the biggest, probably cocaine dealers in Washington, DC, ever, besides the CIA, of course, because everybody knows they're the biggest. But for like normal people, he was pretty big. So I got a book, and actually Christian Simpolini designed that book cover.
Man, I'm telling you, this Christian he's got to do some answering because I needed some stuff designed. You hear that, Christian? So yep, it's interesting because I don't know what it is that draws people to the underbelly of society, or to the I don't want to call it the underbelly, but to the dark underworld. What do you think it is that draws society to that? Like with the crimes and criminals?
I don't know. I just think, well, first off, I want to say, I've never considered myself a criminal. I never carried a gun. I never, have been violent. I've always been a nonviolent, cannabis, psychedelic offender. I run from the law, stuff like that. So I got some charges like that. So, but I've never been like a, a violent, you know, a violent fucking person. But I forgot where I was going. Sorry.
We
Can
were
you
talking
repeat? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I can repeat the question. What do you think it is that draws people to, I'll rephrase it. Yes, sir. What do you think draws a lot of people to the stories?
All right, I know what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It's the freedom to do what the fuck you want to do. All right, you know why people love Scarface? You know why people love Tony Montana? Because Tony Montana lived life how he wanted to live life. He didn't give a fuck about rules. He didn't give a fuck about regulations. He didn't give a fuck about what anybody else wanted to think. And I'm not saying, it's good. I'm not romanticizing this, but if he wanted to blow somebody's brains out, Tony Montana would blow somebody's brains out. So I think, I don't know, I did 21 years in prison. So, you can make a lot of comparisons. I mean, there's just so many rules, so many regulations. I think a lot of people gravitate towards stuff like that because these people have the freedom to do what they want to do, and it's a freedom that a lot of people don't really have in today's society. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
somebody's always watching you. Someone's always going to say something. So I think that's why I think being an outlaw or being a gangster. I mean, there's a sort of freedom to that. I mean, because every time you're out and people are doing stupid stuff and people think, I'd just like to go smack them in the face. Everybody thinks that. I'm not saying all the time, but everybody thinks that. But 99% of the people, God bless you,
Thank you.
99.9% of the people are not going to go say that, because it's not polite or it's wrong or it's this or that. But what the fuck you think John Gotti's going to do?
He'd do it.
So I'm saying that's just a freedom. That's why people look at it. It's a freedom, man. The freedom to act. The freedom to do as you want. And not anything that's, I'm not trying to say, do something morally wrong or, horrible or awful. I mean, nobody, wants to have the freedom to do that. But I mean, you gotta stand up for yourself in life, you gotta stand up to people, you gotta stand up to things. And sometimes the world is, you feel like you can or like you're wrong. And I think a lot of people, you feel that on the inside. So when you see these gangsters, these outlaws, these stories, you're kind of like, man, I wish I could do that. That's what I see.
Do it. If someone does something, I'll just backhand them. I really don't give a shit. Most people know that, but I haven't had the need to do that as of late. Do you have any thoughts on Barry Seal?
Yeah, I think I read the book. I saw the movie. I mean, dude was a cowboy, man. I mean, he was a drug smuggler. He was doing big things, and if everything they say is true, I mean, he was working under Bill Clinton in some way, or paying Bill Clinton off, or something. I mean, they ran a lot of that stuff through Arkansas. So yeah, I don't know. To me, Barry Seal. To me, I don't think I think I did some interviews. I interviewed like the people who wrote the book or something for Vice or something. I think I remember that, or maybe the movie. But yeah, dude was definitely, man. He was doing what he wanted. A smart dude. But I mean, he was involved in the cocaine trade, but in the smuggling aspect. But definitely, I mean, dude was a character, man. Definitely.
Paul wants to know if you have any memories on putting the Nightlife documentary together.
Yeah, I mean, we filmed that. That was my first doc. I did White Boy with Sean Reck, but I was just a writer producer. So Nightlife was my first doc. Like I was director. I was like the main person, and I funded that pretty much myself too. And I got a little money from one of my lawyer friends here in St. Louis. But that movie took me 5 years to make. I mean, it took a long time, and we were out in the streets for 2 years filming. So the dude we followed, the Reverend Kenneth McCoy, he used to walk the streets. There's an organization called Nightlife, and they walk the streets. And in the worst part, they call it the North Side. It's like North St. Louis. It's just like, it's awful. A lot of gangs, a lot of violence, a lot of drugs. Property values way down, and we followed him around, man. He goes out at night, so he would go out like 11 to 2 a.m. like on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, and we would go out with cameras and follow him. We hear gunshots, like people threaten us, steal our cameras, all types of stuff. But one thing that nobody knew is I had one of my cameramen was like an ex-military dude, and he wasn't the best shooter. He was adequate, he could shoot, but he was licensed to carry and he knew how to use it. He was like in Afghanistan or something, within the army on the ground. So we had him. We never had to use it, and he never took it out. But I rested. I felt safer. But the Reverend, he always kept us safe. People respected him. But yeah, that was a crazy movie. Beautiful film. Beautiful film. Beautiful man. That's on Amazon and Tubi right now too.
I have to watch that because I didn't see that one. I had no idea that was yours as well.
Yeah. So I got four. Out on Outlaw Films. I got Dope Man. I got Nightlife was first, and then I got Dope Man, America's First Drug Cartel. Then I put out Psychedelic Revolution, The Secret History of the LSD Trade. And my latest was A Tortured Mind, The Reality of Post-Incarceration Syndrome. And I got like 3-4 more coming this year. So 4 out and hopefully 3-4 more this year.
Well, that's an interesting one, post-incarceration syndrome. Are there programs to help people with that or advocates specifically? Because I feel it's got to be really difficult for some people, not everyone, to reintegrate.
Yeah, not at all. So it's basically, it looks at the reality of, post-incarceration syndrome. They call it PICS. It's like kind of subset under PTSD. And so, with the academic, like the study, like the theory behind it is, people go to prison and, you witness violence. It's almost kind of like in war or stuff like that. You witness violence and, it leaves scars on you mentally that you never recover. And you're never given any treatment. You're never giving, any type of counseling. You're not like, debriefed or deprogrammed. Like in California, they got like dudes that'll be up in the shoe and do like 5 years in the shoe. That's like solitary 5 years. And then they get out and they give them a bus ticket and a $200 and say, send them on their way. That's like crazy. And you expect that person to come and be successful after you just caged him like an animal for the last 5 years and treated him worse than we treat our pets. So it's kind of crazy. So that's what I do. And I focus on the Ryan Leone story. He was my friend. He was my friend, and tragic story. He ended up passing. So that's it's his story, but I look at it through the lens of this post-incarceration syndrome because this is a kid from Santa Barbara, super talented, super full of life. Got in a little trouble, maybe had a little mental illness, definitely some drug addiction, went to some violent prisons, in the feds and California system, witnessed a lot of violence, even had violence perpetrated on him. And he came out, and despite his talent, his writing talent and his drive and his ambition, despite all that, he still couldn't. He just couldn't get it together, man. He was too scarred, and like he never had any help. The probation officers were always trying to put him back in prison for drugs, or trying to get him on methadone or So tragic story, but I want to show the world, what is happening. So hopefully there won't be any more Ryan Leones.
Well, in Europe, I'm not sure if you know how the prison system is there, because I've had a lot of friends that were in the prison system. It's interesting. A friend of mine, we were at a white party like years ago, and the cops came in, busting everything down. He had 8 hits of acid on him, and he swallowed it. So they took him in. He was in jail before for something else. I don't know what it was, but he had to do 5 years in jail. So the first 6 months, they put you into like a maximum security. After that, they see how you're doing. Then after like 8 or 9 months, maybe you're on Facebook for like an hour every day, but that's it. After a year, you're allowed to go outside a couple hours a week and you get a cell phone. Then depending on what you're there for, you get your own little place, which has like a TV, your own bed, a computer. Like you can be a fully functioning person, but they slowly reintegrate you back into society and treat you like a human. So he got out of jail, as far as I know, like 3 years ago. Nothing happened to him again. And it helps with a lot of people, I think, that even have families. You know, you get the family day, a few hours with your family. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you don't get to, you know, they don't, what is the word?
Recidivate.
What is it?
Recidivate.
They don't recidivate. They don't.
Recidivism.
Hi, Robin. How are you? Yes. But yeah, so it's a higher chance they won't do it. But it seems as though they treat them more humane there. Do you think that could be implemented into the U.S. system here, or do you think they?
Yeah, but also stop. I mean, we lock up like 25%. You know, we got like the highest percentage. Like we lock up 25. You know, like if you look at the percentages in the whole world, it's like crazy how many people we got locked up. And for real, a lot of people don't need to be locked up. Why are you making all these laws to try to lock people up? I mean, violent people need to be locked up. If you continue to be violent, you know, or do heinous crimes and murders and stuff like that, or, you know, rape children, you know, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You deserve prison. Yeah, you should deserve prison. And we, you know, those people are deviants. You know, we should be real careful about leaving those people out. But a lot of people now are put into prison, you know, for drugs or entrepreneurs or drug addicts. You know, drugs use addiction has been criminalized in this country ever since the 1920s. I think that's what dope men shows too. You know, that's when they criminalized drug addiction. I mean, drug addiction is a medical issue. So it's just crazy. You got a bunch of drug addicts in prisons that really don't even need to be there. They just need help. But, you know, they'd rather, you know, prop up the economy or, you know, like I say, the feds in California are the two biggest prison systems. The feds is the biggest and California is right behind them. This huge, you know, criminal justice machinery. And when you got criminal justice machinery that's big, I mean, you know, they got to process people. So they just make more laws, lock people up. I don't know. It's crazy. I'd say let most people out, but definitely, yeah, for the people that are in there, yeah, you know, the people that deserve to be there, yeah, there should be something, you know, humanity is about having redeeming qualities. So, you know, I mean, some, you know, very few people are truly evil, but I'd say like 2-3% of people are like truly evil and have no recourse. Those they should just kill those people. You know, they really, you know. But everybody else, you know, has a chance. So yeah, maybe if you treat them like a human, maybe they can come back. I don't know, but you know, if you give them that chance and they prove that they're still deviant, then I don't know.
No, I agree wholeheartedly on that. But now we're having, I mean, talk about being disgusting and hitting people while they're down. People who've evacuated their homes, you know, in the warning zones, not the ones that have been hit with the fire. There are looters going in there. And that just takes a special type of person to do that to someone. Someone wants to know, do you think that open air prisons are something to be explored in the USA?
I don't know what they mean by open air prisons. What does that mean?
It's not maximum security.
Is that what you're talking about? What you were talking about?
I don't know if it means the same thing, because I also know someone that burned some churches down in Norway back in the 90s. He went to jail for the maximum amount of time because he murdered someone too. But they let him out to see his family at one point, like after 10 years of being there. On his first time being out in the street, he tried to get away again. Then he locked him up again for another 5 years.
Do they mean the tents? Do they mean the tent prisons like in Arizona or something? I don't know if they mean.
Hellstrom, what do you mean by an open air prison? Because I'm confused now. I don't know. I've never heard of an open air prison. I guess they're coming and going as they please. Anyone just cared? Oh, here we go. It's like a village, a compound.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what they said. Like tribes used to do. Indian tribes, right? They used to put the people out on an island somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. It better be better for the people, but I don't know. I just think the prison system it's inhumane. I mean, it's horrible. It's degrading. Yeah, they definitely need something different, man. because they just lock people up and put them in a cage. It's crazy. They create these harsh environments where you have, like when I was in prison. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs. I was a military brat. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thrown in with all these gangbangers and prison gangsters. Mafioso, armed robbers. You got to put this mask on and you got to act like you're somebody you're not just to survive. You know. And like I said, I was a nonviolent offender. I got 25 years when I was 22. So it's kind of insane. Then you throw me in this harsh environment. As it like I was 22 years old. But I survived. And even prospered. Had a lot of successes, but still horrible situation to be in. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It's horrible system. I believe the whole system on its face is corrupt. The way they do things and give people time and stuff. From the war on drugs to even now, because they just treat you like you're not even a human being.
Yeah, and your crimes were victimless, definitely. Someone wants to know if you've seen 60 Days In. It's a show. Have you seen that, and what do you think of it?
I think that they're playing for the camera, man. I think that's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because look, in a real prison, if you're trying to get away with something, you're trying to do it where there's no cameras.
Yeah.
So it's like some fake shit, and the dudes are playing up for the cameras. You know what I'm saying? It's just about creating some drama. It's like this, like what is the biggest thing now? This baddies.
What the
They
fuck?
got baddies where the girls fight. Yeah, it's like they got TV shows everywhere. They're like everywhere. They got baddies Jamaica,
Oh God.
baddies London, baddies Midwest, baddies Dirty South, baddies LA, baddies Compton.
What the fuck
And
are
then,
they doing on this? Are they like beating each other?
yeah, it's like some Jerry Springer shit. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, 60 days in, and now this. I think it's all from. It's just these reality show dramas, man. It all comes from Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
That was probably the first big one.
ridiculous. So the open air prison is a jail in which the prisoners are trusted to complete their sentences with minimal supervision and perimeter security, and are often not locked up in their prison cells. Yeah, I guess that could that could work, I think. Yeah.
It sounds like probation or something.
Yeah, and Batty sounds like a night shift at the Waffle House. I
Yeah.
agree with that. So yeah, I don't think these girls could survive an episode of Springer, but I would. Now I'm going to check out these baddies viral videos or whatever the hell they are. Like, so many things on there.
Oh, they're everywhere, man. All over social media. It's crazy.
Maybe I'll join in one and beat the shit out of someone. Anyway, I'm telling you, that's the episode right there. That's the money. But I don't know if I want to be going down. Like, you look at the Compton ones. There was this fight that went viral in Disneyland with a family. It's really sad what happened.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh my God, they're like fighting like this is how they fight. I don't see any of this. I don't see any of that. I don't see any of this. It's just these girls just go like that. They don't even tie their hair back. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You have dreadlocks. Put your hair up if you're gonna get.
And they hold their hands. They hold their hands funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna put the money on myself.
They look like a cartoon, like Popeye or something. The way they hold their hands.
Yeah,
Like, they don't hold their hands like boxers or even MMA guys.
They
Yeah,
hold it like this. Da, da, da.
like a cartoon. It's like a cartoon.
And then they're ripping the thongs out of the pants. But you had like guys hitting girls in that one. Like, I'm so obsessed by that. I'm probably going to watch it now after. Like, my first obsession was Drag Queen Story Hour because of the crazy videos, right, that were out there with this shit with like grown men in rainbow wigs dancing with little kids. That made me sick to my stomach because they don't run background checks on these people. Okay, fine. Let them go do that at the LA County Jail. They could do it.
Yeah, and whatever happened to, like, I think society now too. Like, when I grew up, but I'm 54. I grew up in the 80s, but I grew up like a man doesn't put hands on a woman. And it's like now it's like you see like high school, you see all the videos from school. It's just like, what is wrong with these dudes, man? Or what is wrong with these women attacking these dudes and not, I mean, I can see. I mean, I don't know. I don't think even if a chick like really attacked me, I'll just try to push her off me and get away, But I can't say, some of these dudes, especially young dudes, get attacked. But it looks crazy, man.
It really does. And those girls are crazy. Nobody on these reality shows know how to throw a punch. So that's actually true. But thanks for joining us tonight. And if you could just throw out your socials again, and I did post it under here as well, somewhere in the
Yes, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I think I got TikTok, maybe LinkedIn, YouTube, all under my name. My YouTube channel is called Seth Ferranti's True Crime. All my social media is under my name, Seth Ferranti. I'm pretty easy to find. Like I said, all my docs are on Amazon and Tubi, and the White Boy's still on Netflix. All my books are on Amazon. I got a bunch of Audible books, so you can order from my site, and I can autograph them for you. So, yeah, I'm pretty visible, man. I got a lot of stuff out there. I like to make stuff. That's what I do. So, that's what I'm going to continue to do.
I'm excited because you're definitely one of the most creative people and most productive person I've met that's come from prison. The only other person I was actually friendly with was John Roberts, but he passed away. He told me not to drink alkaline water, that it gives you cancer.
Oh, I don't know. I drink it. I like it. I drink alkaline water. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing I drink. But then again, he actually passed away of cancer after that.
I think it makes me feel not as thirsty. It's like quenches my thirst more. I don't know what it is. But I thought our whole body has alkaline in it. It isn't like a major part of our body. It's all alkaline, right? So I don't know. Can't believe anything you hear. You never know. There's always opposing angles, no matter what the story is.
There really
Isn't
is.
that? I think that's modern day America.
It sure is. But I'm glad you're out. Everyone says thank you, and I'm going to follow your fight for this. And I wish you the best. I will be praying for you and hoping that you get through this and this whole thing gets dropped because it's ridiculous.
That's what I'm working towards. That's what I'm going to manifest. And we still got to do the Jasmine St. Clair doc.
Yeah, you know what? I think Christian was finding a bunch of stuff for the Jasmine St. Clair documentary, and I found a bunch of stuff as well. So that would be, I think, you're
a true American hero.
Oh my God! Thank you.
The Jasmine St. Clair story.
A true American hero. Yeah.
Or heroine.
Heroine?
Yeah.
A true American.
No, we just use hero. It sounds better, hero.
Hero, yeah, I prefer that. Then people might think it's a heroin thing going on. Thanks again. Let's stay in touch and
all right.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks, Jasmine. Be safe.
Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, and yeah, Robin just said she has a point here. So from the shows like Baddies, like, do any of these idiots go to jail as if it was a real fight? I don't know, because and that's a good point, because what you're saying, Robin, is that if girls do not get arrested from these fights on Baddies, then they're staged, right? That's my opinion. I don't know. Like, I've never heard of this. I know that these girls were getting their brows done like really big and microbladed and hashtagging it Baddies. So I thought that was a style of brow, like really thick and, chiseled. So that's what I thought Baddies were at first, but I had no idea it's some kind of weird crap that these girls are doing to be viral and to be famous. It brings me to the point of the story of that one girl. What was her name? Lily something or another, that allegedly did 100 guys on her OnlyFans. Clearly it didn't work, because then she went out there crying and having regrets, but then she turns around, hey, I'm going to do 900. So you know what? It's just viral attention. And if these girls aren't going to get arrested for these Baddies videos, then yeah, it's fake. If you guys Google the Disneyland fight from 4 years ago, you guys will see one of the most horrendous displays of humanity. Like, I'm talking an elderly woman, 2 young girls. I think there was like a little baby boy in the carriage, and grown men. One was a brother, one was the dad to the child, One was the mother of the child. It was just really just fucked up. You know, where does humanity go when we're just out there looking for likes? Where is humanity when we are out there hurting one another and hurting people and creating fights just for ratings? And that's something that was talked about on the Jerry Springer documentary. They decided what was more interesting to talk about was a murder that happened on the show. You know, not the controversy, not the other stuff that actually made Springer what it was, but a fight that led to a murder. That's not what shock TV is. Shock TV is controversy. Those days are gone. So people think they can recreate it with these viral things. It doesn't work that way. You want to go out there and beat someone else, beat another girl, and be baddies? Be my guest. Because that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't know. It's just me, just food for thought. Just jumbling away on these things. You know, we did this before. I was just on someone else's podcast talking about the California wildfires, which is another shit show right now. And you have a mayor and a governor that don't want to take accountability. Again, another example of where we are as a society and where humanity is gone. Anyway, everyone have a wonderful Monday night. I'll be back next Monday. And don't forget to subscribe to my page. Likes, comments, whatever you want. And of course, always stay posted because I feel as though all the guests I'm having now, they're different than the ones from before. Yes, Hellstrom, I am definitely going 100%. What's wrong with having a job? Sorry about this. I see your comment right now, John. When you see this stuff with the baddies, I wonder what's wrong with just having a job. Yeah, good luck with that. It's, you know, the internet fosters mediocrity. Clout fosters mediocrity. TV fosters mediocrity. Hollywood fosters mediocrity amongst people. So there's your answer, John Jay, when you ask that question. I think that's a pretty good answer. But anyway, subscribe, and every Wednesday it's a new episode of Crazy Train Podcast that drops on Apple, and then usually on Friday or Saturday, the video gets uploaded here to YouTube. I'm here to say goodnight, everyone. Boa noite, bonsoir, auf Wiedersehen. Good night, and don't forget to stay frosty.